But again, welcome everybody to our Come to Learn series. We're so happy to have each and every one of you here. The goal of our Come to Learn series this month is to help you improve and broaden your intellectual wellness. We will have lots of amazing topics we're going to be talking about this month, and just hope that you can take something away from each and learn something new. If you haven't already, you can visit our Healthy Lifestyles website and register for the other workshops we've got going on. We have Learn How to Prevent Disease, come learn about houseplants, come learn about Alzheimer's and dementia, come learn how to cook cowboy caviar, and we'll also be having a virtual trivia challenge. So if any of those sound interesting to you, head to our Healthy Lifestyles website and you can register there for those workshops. But today is all about June celebrations. June is a very special month with many unique celebrations, and we're going to be talking a little bit about the history of each of the celebrations. How can we celebrate and really enjoy this month of June? So, just a quick little recap. We are going to be talking about Pride Month. We have Flag Day on June 14th, Father's Day on June 19th. It's also Men's Health Month, which is really exciting. We have June 19th, which is Juneteenth, which is on June 19th, but will be observed on June 20th. And lastly, the summer solstice, which is on June 21st. So I'm going to turn the time over to Sadie, and she's going to kick us off with Pride Month.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yes, the month of June is dedicated to uplifting the voices of the LGBTQIA2S plus. We keep adding to this, but I think it's amazing that we keep adding to this acronym because it means we are being more inclusive to different different lifestyles and ways that people choose either to identify or choose who to love. So I think it's absolutely amazing that we just keep adding to this acronym. So, as you probably know, the rainbow flag is used as a symbol for the LGBTQ plus pride, but I wanted to go through each of the colors and what they represent. So we have red that symbolizes life, orange that represents healing, yellow is for sunlight, green is for nature, blue symbolizes harmony, and violet represents spirit. There have been many variations of the flag, and the flag has actually was created in 1978 by Gilbert Baker. And then in 2021, the flag was altered in solidarity with the Black Lives Matter protest, and it includes black to represent diversity, brown to represent inclusivity, and light blue and pink to represent the colors of the trans pride flag. And so, what I want to do is go through a brief history timeline right here for how we have got to this point with our pride celebrations. I hope that you were able to attend either the march or parade or festival or celebrate in your own way this last weekend at Salt Lake City. We celebrated our Pride Month. But let's go back to not necessarily the beginning, but the beginning of the movement that led to June being Pride Month. So in 1969, the Stonewall riots began about 2 a.m. on June 28th of 1969, and this is where authorities raided the Stonewall Inn, a gay bar on Christopher Street in Manhattan's Greenwich Village. So it was common for these types of riots and these types of raids to happen at bars without liquor licenses. And it wasn't a coincidence that oftentimes these were gay bars. So in New York's liquor authority tended to reject the liquor license applications from gay bars, and so there tend to be riots at these places. So as several bar goers were arrested the night of the Stonewall riot, those who evacuated decided that they could no longer stay silent. They began protesting outside of the bar, and the authorities grew violent, and the raid soon became a riot between the police and members of the LGBT community. And so this actually led to 6 days of protests outside the Stonewall Inn and throughout the Greenwich Village of New York City. And then we move to 1970, a year later, and they wanted to do something in honor of that resistance that was met on June 28th, 1969. So in the 1970s, they organized a march to Central Park, and this is where the theme of gay pride was adopted. And as a counterpart to the prevailing attitude of shame that they had felt for so very long, the march down Christopher Street soon expanded to other cities, with many joining in the 1970s and so on. And that's what has grown today with our march and our parade. And today, now, if you've ever been to one, it is an absolute party. It is a blast. And so it actually started with those Stonewall riots that happened in 1969. We moved to 1979. I'm kind of jumping around here. So much more has happened between each of these years, right? It's not just these are just very huge milestones when it comes to the LGBTQ pride movement. So we moved to 1969, and this is the first national march on Washington for lesbian and gay rights. It was held in DC. This fell just 10 years after the Stonewall riots and about a year after the assassination of gay politician Harvey Milk. This helped bring pride celebrations and marches to all over the US after 1979, and that's what's led to many of the marches that happen throughout June in our country today. Then we jump a couple decades forward to 2011. And in 2011, the night before Pride weekend, New York State actually voted to legalize same sex marriage in the state where the Stonewall riots began in 1969. This was a huge, huge milestone. We did have Vermont, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Iowa, New Hampshire, and DC legalize same sex marriage before, but it became an even bigger deal when it happened in New York City, when just decades before we had the Stonewall riots. And then just a couple years later in 2015, on June 27th, just before the New York City Pride March, the US Supreme Court made it legal for same-sex couples to marry across the country. And this made Pride celebrations even more special that year. Along with 2015, President Barack Obama made the Stonewall Inn a national monument, and it's actually a historic landmark now in New York City. We move to the present, and today we're celebrations for Pride Month include parades, picnics, parties, workshops, symposiums, concerts, and LGBT Pride Month events attract millions of people actually throughout the world. Memorials are held during this month for those of the community who have lost their lives to hate crimes. And the purpose of this month is to commemorate and recognize the impact that LGBTQ plus individuals have had on our history, locally, nationally, and internationally. And although rights have come a long way since those riots in 1969, there's still so much to fight for in terms of equal rights and protections for every member of this community. So as you wave your rainbow flag during Pride Month this year, make sure to take a moment to honor those who actually risked their lives to fight for these equal rights since that, even before 1969. 1969 was just kind of the stick that broke the camel's back. But I want to talk to you about how to get involved. So though we had our celebrations with the festival and parade this last weekend in Salt Lake City, there's still so much more going on this month. So if you actually go to utahpridecenter.org, there is a calendar and there's activities happening almost every day. And the ones I want to highlight one of them is on June 18th. It's called Pride or Die. And this is a Pride show that is actually talks about the history of Pride. It's an aerial, it's a drag show. And then along with that in Park City on June 25th, there'll be a Pride picnic on the patio. I have some things listed outside of June in September and in August. And these are actually Pride in Logan and in Ogden. The reason that we have Pride at least in Utah, that's not happening all in June, is so that we can attend all of these, right? We don't want to have them all on the same weekend. So that's the reason that we do that. So we can be celebrating Pride all year long, not just in June. But I actually want to turn the time over to Valina to talk a little bit about how you can get involved in helping out this community.
Thank you, Sadie. Yeah, I forgot, June in August 20th is Provo Pride also. Um, I know there's just so many other little prides, and there was actually Davis County Pride started for the first time in April this year. So they're happening all over the places, and actually volunteering for a Pride Festival is a great way to start getting involved if you haven't done so and you haven't been involved in any of the other communities. That's a great way. All the Pride festivals always need volunteers. It doesn't matter if you are in the LGBTQIA plus community or not, they always need volunteers for that. But there's also some other great things that you could do to get involved in the community. One good resource is lgbtq.ut. It's a new website that was developed, I think, 2021, just recently, that is trying to list all of the organizations, from social organizations, from sports organizations like my organization. I'm director of Cheer Salt Lake. We are a Pride cheerleading team, and we were at the parade throwing each other up and down the entire route, and I got the bruises to show. But there's any sort of thing you could imagine that's happening, within that, and that's a great resource. There's also Q pages that also not only list Pride organizations, but LGBTQIA plus local businesses that are small, um, and of course, supporting small businesses that are, owned by the community is helpful. And I would like to give a shout out to one business in particular, and that is Under the Umbrella Bookstore. It opened up in the middle of COVID. It is an LGBTQIA plus bookstore. It's by the Gateway. It's just on the south end of the Gateway, just a couple blocks from it, and it is an amazing resource where they've got all sorts of books that you could purchase um, for basically anything within the community that you want to learn about. And I go there probably every weekend and, you know, purchase way too many books that I possibly can't read. But there's so many different, parts of Pride that even I'm not aware of with my, 20 years experience, like, people who are disabled or people who have, people of different races and how Pride's affecting it. So you could actually go to that bookstore. They have all sorts of amazing resources there, and the staff there are incredible. They're willing to help you, and they also have other things like, a gender confirming closet. So for young trans people who don't have any money, need to get new clothes, there's a clothing exchange there for that. They have little rooms that you could read and resources and little things that you could donate if you want to, write a little card, donate $20 for somebody else to get a book. It is an amazing resource as well. Then that's Under the Umbrella Bookstore. And yeah, if you have any other questions, I've been involved in the LGBTQIA plus community for many, many years of my life. From when I was a kid, I was living in San Francisco, and I was a youth leader for a Pride group, and even in college. So you could even just message me on WebEx if you have any questions as well, and I'll try to get to it as much as quick as I can through my busy schedule. But I'm also a resource here. Does that answer your question? I know we have a lot to cover about. So awesome.
Thank you so much,
You're
Valina.
welcome. Anything for you, Sadie.
In addition
In
to
addition,
June Pride Month, we have other celebrations going on too. And I believe Brooke will be talking about the next holiday that we celebrate here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sadie and Valina. That was some amazing information and resources, and we really appreciate that. So every year on June 14th, we celebrate Flag Day. I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of Flag Day. How did it all get started? So, when the American Revolution first broke out in 1775, the colonists weren't fighting united in under a single flag. Instead, most regiments participating in the war for independence against the British fought under their own flags. So in June of 1775, the Second Continental Congress met in Philadelphia to create the Continental Army, a unified colonial fighting force with hopes of a more organized battle against its colonial oppressors. And this is what first led to the creation of the first American flag, which you can see pictured here. This flag was called the Grand Union or the Continental Colors flag, and for some, this flag, which consisted of 13 red stripes, red and white alternating stripes, and a Union Jack in the corner, it was too similar to the British flag. And so George Washington soon realized that flying a flag that was even remotely close to the British flag was not a great confidence builder for the revolutionary effort. So he turned his efforts towards creating a new symbol of freedom. So it's widely believed that Betsy Ross, who assisted in the Revolutionary War effort by repairing uniforms and sewing tents, was commissioned by General George Washington himself to sew the revised American flag in 1776. And it said during their meeting that Ross was presented with a sketch of the flag and was asked to create a flag to match the proposed design. And she agreed. However, she did suggest a couple of changes, which included arranging the stars in a circle and reducing the points of each star from 6 to 5. So that's the flag that we see pictured here now. The following year, on June 14th, 1777, the Second Continental Congress took a break from writing the Articles of Confederation, and they passed a resolution stating that the flag of the United States be 13 stripes alternating red and white, and the Union be the 13 stars, white in a blue field, representing a new constellation, that officially be adopted as the national flag. So over 100 years later, in 1916, President Woodrow Wilson marked the anniversary of the decree by establishing June 14th as Flag Day. So it's believed that a man named Bernard Signard, he was a small town Wisconsin teacher, he originated the idea for an annual Flag Day to be celebrated across the country every June 14th in 1885. So that year he led his school in the first formal observance of the holiday, and he continued to promote his concept and advocate for the respect of his flag throughout his lifetime. So, just some fun little facts and etiquette about the American flag. So, it is often referred to as Old Glory. That's kind of its nickname, and this is because a shipmaster and captain named William Driver, during his career at sea, he appreciated the American flag and recognized its symbolism for freedom, and so he began to call it Old Glory, and that kind of picked up, and everyone liked it. And so if you ever hear someone reference the flag as Old Glory, that's where it came from. Next, in the 1950s, when it seemed certain that Alaska was going to be admitted into the Union, designers began retooling the American flag to add a 49th star to the existing 48. Meanwhile, a 17-year-old student from Ohio named Bob Heft borrowed his mother's sewing machine, and he disassembled his family's 48-star flag and stitched on 50 stars in a proportional pattern. And then he handed his creation to his history teacher for a class project, explaining that he expected that Hawaii would soon achieve statehood as well. Heft also sent the flag to his congressman, Walter Moeller, who presented it to President Eisenhower after both the new states had joined the Union. And Eisenhower selected 17-year-old Heft's design, and on July 4th, 1960, the president and this high school student stood together as the 50-star flag was raised for the first time. So kind of cool story behind that. Some flag etiquette that should be followed when caring for a flag. Etiquette calls for American flags to be illuminated by sunlight or another light source while on display. When flags are taken down from their poles, they must be taken down to keep from touching the ground. In fact, an American flag should always be kept aloft, meaning that rugs and carpets and things of that nature that would feature the stars and stripes are actually barred by the flag code, which is an interesting tip or an interesting fact. And then lastly, when the flags of cities, states, and localities or other groups are flown on the same staff as the American flag, Old Glory should always be kept at the peak. And when flags of 2 or more nations are displayed, they should be of equivalent size and flown from separate staffs at the same height. And then if you've ever wondered how to correctly fold a flag, we've got a little step-by-step of how to do that. First, you want to enlist a partner and stand facing towards each other, each holding both corners of one of the long rectangle's shorter sides. And then working together, you'll lift half of the flag that usually hangs on the bottom, over the half that contains the blue field of stars. Next, you want to fold the flag lengthwise a second time so that the stars are visible on the outside. And then you'll make a triangular fold at the striped end, bringing one corner up to meet the top edge, and continue to fold the flag in this manner until a triangle of star-studded blue can be seen as in the picture. So that's how they get that big giant flag all folded up neat into a tiny little triangle like that. So just some fun information for you guys. So I'm going to turn the time over to Jane, who's going to talk to us about Father's Day.
Oh, Jane, you're muted.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I have the audio on my phone and weird things were happening. Anyway, so I just want to say thank you for the celebrations that we've already talked about. I love learning more about the LGBTQ plus community, and Flag Day is awesome. I never knew that a 17-year-old reconfigured the flag, so that's really cool. So now we're going to be talking about Father's Day. And as we know, Father's Day is the third Sunday in June that we have set aside to honor fathers and father figures in our lives. And it's a day that we get to show appreciation for the things that they've taught us and the way that they live their lives, as well as, our relationships with them. And although many of us celebrate Father's Day, it actually wasn't totally 100% accepted at the time when it was instituted. So surprisingly, we didn't start celebrating it until 2 years after we started to celebrate Mother's Day, which is so interesting. But the credit for originating the holiday, it goes to a girl named Sonora Smart Dot. And Sonora is from Spokane, Washington, and she lost her mother during her mother's childbirth. She had 5 children, and so her father raised all of the 5 children alone. He was a widower. And she said that she got the idea for Father's Day while she was listening to a sermon on Mother's Day on the TV or on the radio at the time. And in 1909, she had the idea for Father's Day. So during this time, she reached out to local churches and local government officials, and they were on board. The city of Spokane wanted to support the holiday of Father's Day. So in 1910, the first Father's Day was celebrated, and it kind of caught on like wildfire. And in 1924, U.S. President Calvin Coolidge gave his support to the observance, and more people started to celebrate and support the observance of Father's Day. And then in 1966, President Lyndon B. Johnson issued a proclamation that recognized the day as Father's Day, and it became a national holiday in 1972 when President Richard Nixon signed the legislation designating that the third Sunday of June is Father's Day. So that's really cool. And most countries celebrate it that same day as we do. Some do not, but most countries do. And although it was originally largely a religious holiday, Father's Day has kind of shifted throughout the years. Now it's more commercialized, right? And we get to send greeting cards to our fathers and father figures and the men in our lives that mean so much to us. And this is actually a really cool, I guess, original story. Is some would observe the custom of wearing a red rose to indicate that one's father is living, or a white rose indicating that their father is deceased, or other males, for example, grandfathers or uncles who assumed parenting roles for individuals. You know, they're also honored on Father's Day. So this year we get to celebrate it on June 19th, like was mentioned before. We're going to learn about Juneteenth, but we get to celebrate Juneteenth and the fathers in our lives on the same day, which is pretty cool. So what to get your old man? What to get your old man? That is literally the question of the century. Every time I think, what do I get a dad who has everything he needs or every tool in the world? Gift him your time. Spend some one-on-one time with your pop. Recreating a memory with him. This is something that I love to do with my own father. It's always fun, and you get to spend time. Give him something that will make him laugh, like socks with your face on them, or you can personalize a photo book of pictures with him, you know, throughout the years, or you can customize a bobblehead with his face on it. You can write him a heartfelt note. And when all else fails, you can get him a fun gadget or a tool. But I also want to highlight the fact, it was mentioned previous, but, you know, we all have someone in our lives that has shaped us and given us, you know, that perspective of whether it's your father, your grandfather, an uncle, a friend, a brother, you know, a partner, whoever that person is, celebrate them for the men that they are and who they've shaped you to be. And then another thing, this is mostly funny, but Father's Day, right? Not all of us have children or, you know, a father or whatever it might be, but we may know somebody who has a pup or somebody who has a little kitty or something with paws. So just wish them a happy Father's Day. It's mostly cute and mostly funny, but if you really love them, you might even want to gift them a shirt with their little friend with a paw's face on it or something. It's just mostly cute. And then we want to talk about how June is Men's Health Month. So if you've been around with healthy lifestyles before in the past, we always would dedicate June to men's health. And now we're shifting to incorporate it all throughout the year and just focus on health in general. But we want to take a moment to highlight that, you know, June is so important and it's recognized throughout the nation to be Men's Health Month. And it's a month where we honor and we celebrate and we raise awareness for men's health and the chronic health conditions that are associated with men. And so let's actually just take a few moments to look at the facts. So an average life expectancy for a man is 76 years old versus the average life expectancy for women, which is 81 years old. And this is in the United States. But according to the CDC, the average lifespan for men is about 5 years less than it is a woman. And over the years, there's been a gradual increase in this gap. So there's the three top causes for death among men are, the first is heart disease, the second is cancer, and the third is unintentional injuries. So men are almost twice as likely as women to die of a heart attack and significantly more likely to die of cancers as compared to women. Men are also less likely to undergo treatment for any mental health conditions such as depression. This results in nearly a 4 times increased likelihood of dying by suicide. And this is why it's so important to celebrate the health of the men in our lives, advocating for them to get and seek care for their health, whether that's their mental health, emotional health, physical health, because they matter so much, and we care about them. So Men's Health Month, here are a few ways that we can celebrate, and this is a few ways that we like to highlight and make sure that is being done during this month. So encourage the men in our lives to get regular and annual screenings with their healthcare provider. This means anything you can think of, whether that's cancer screenings, whether that's going to the dentist, whether that's getting your annual physical, getting your eye exams, right? These are things that we want the men in our lives to engage in so that they can do their best and get answers that they need to with health conditions if they arise. You can either prevent it or, you can help them. And advocating for men to know their health history. This is so important when we talk about the health and overall wellness of individuals, is to know what they could potentially be at risk for. And managing stress and engaging in activities that lower stress. Talk to your partner or your dad or a son or a brother or an uncle about mindfulness, and help them engage in behaviors that lower their stress, encourage movement, and encourage therapy if they need that, if they're seeking for that. Help them remember or help them engage in hobbies or support them in their hobbies, because this is such a great way to manage stress and continue to provide help and resources for their mental health. Becoming aware of risky behaviors. This is important when it comes to limiting alcohol consumption, avoiding smoking and other substances, practicing safe sex, and wearing seatbelts and wearing helmets. These are all behaviors that we need to engage in so that it just promotes long, healthy habits, as well as provides them with longevity and life. Eating a variety of nutritious foods and moving your body regularly. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, recommends that we get 150 minutes of moderate to intense physical activity each week. So that's so important. And then just to reiterate, we want to encourage you men to take the time to evaluate your health this month. And for those of you who are listening, who have men in your life that are so important, encourage them to evaluate their health and take a moment to sit down alone or sit down with your partner, your spouse, your friend, your significant other, a brother, an uncle, whoever that man is, that male in your life, to talk to them about their health. Ask them, what are your health goals? Or ask yourself that. Ask yourself why you want to accomplish those health goals, and then schedule an exam to see your primary care physician. Now is the time to engage in healthy behaviors and to make sure that you're living a long and healthy life. It's not necessarily the length of time you live, but it's the quality of time that you're here and how good you feel while you're doing that. So I hope that you take that into consideration as you celebrate Men's Health this month. And I will turn the time over to Brooke to talk about Juneteenth.
Thanks so much, Jane. I really appreciate all that information, and I love your comment about it's about the quality, not the quantity. And Trudy mentioned in the chat, but if you didn't see that already, our Healthy Lifestyles website has lots of great men's health resources for you to check out if you're wanting more information. But now we're going to dive into Juneteenth. So Juneteenth is short for June 19th, and it marks the day when federal troops led by Major General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas in 1865 to take control of the state and ensure that all enslaved people were freed. So the troops' arrival actually came a full 2.5 years after the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation. What happened was the proclamation only applied to places under the Confederate control and not to slaveholding border states or rebel areas under Union control. However, as the Northern troops advanced into the Confederate South, many enslaved people fled behind Union lines. In Texas, slavery had continued despite the proclamation, and the state experienced really no large-scale fighting or significant presence of Union troops at the time. Many enslavers from outside of the Lone Star State moved to Texas after the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation, as they viewed it as sort of a safe haven from slavery. So after the war came to a close in the spring of 1865, General Granger's arrival in Galveston that June 19th signaled freedom for nearly 250,000 of Texas's enslaved people. That December, slavery in America was formally abolished with the adoption of the 13th Amendment. So in the following year, in 1866, the freedmen in Texas organized the first of what became the annual celebration of Jubilee Day on June 19th. In 1979, Texas became the first state to make Juneteenth an official holiday in honor of the end of slavery in the United States. And last year, on June 17th, President Biden signed the National Independence Day Act, which made Juneteenth a federal holiday. So this is actually the first year that it will be recognized as a holiday for county employees to take the time off and to remember the Juneteenth and what happened on this day. So in 1977, we can switch slides, Jane. The Juneteenth flag of freedom was created by Ben Haith, as pictured here. Ben Haith is the founder of the National Juneteenth Celebration Foundation, and a few years later, it was revised into the version we know today, and we have pictured here. So this flag was actually created using a lot of different symbols and meaning, and I wanted to discuss that a little bit. So the white star in the center of the flag represents the Texas, the Lone Star State, where the remaining of the slaves were informed they are free. And the star is also meant to represent freedom for all African Americans in all 50 states. The burst outline around the star is inspired by a nova, which is a term used by astronomers to mean a new star. So on the flag, this is meant to represent a new beginning for the African Americans of Galveston and throughout the land. The curve that extends across the flag represents a new horizon, the opportunities and promises that lay ahead for the newly freed slaves. The red, white, and blue represents the American flag and serves as a reminder that slaves and their descendants were and are Americans. Haith also said that the colors are to symbolize the continuous commitment of the people of the United States to do better and live up to the American ideal of liberty and justice for all. So how can we celebrate Juneteenth activities here in Utah? So I saw Efren in the comments said that the mayor's office is promoting an event that'll be held on June 17th at 11 a.m. in the Government Center. And sorry, we can switch slides, Jane. And there's also a Juneteenth festival that's going to be held at the Viridian Center, the library's event center, on June 18th, and that will be from 4 to 9 p.m. They will be celebrating Black culture and the emancipation of enslaved people in the United States with a fashion show, a poetry slam, games, traditional food, a scavenger hunt, crafts, and much more. If you're interested, you can find more information on the county library's website. There is also the 33rd Annual Utah Juneteenth Freedom and Heritage Festival and holiday commemoration that will be on June 18th through the 19th at the Ogden City Amphitheater. And this festival is actually hosted by the Project Success Coalition, and it was planned and implemented as a statewide celebration to help bring all of our cities and residents together in a united coalition to commemorate Juneteenth. And they have lots of various activities, such as a flag raising ceremony, storytelling, workshops, lots of history workshops as well. There's going to be a Juneteenth choir and much more. So if you go to the Project Success Coalition's website, they have all the information with the events and specific times. And then lastly, we have the Salt Lake Juneteenth Celebration and Black-Owned Business Expo, which will be held on Monday, June 20th at the Gateway Mall from noon till dusk. And they will be hosting lots of Black-owned businesses and vendors. There's also going to be Black-owned artists and exhibits displaying their work, as well as entertainment and lots of great things like that. So if you're interested, I believe you can register online for that celebration. So hopefully you've got a few ideas of how we can celebrate Juneteenth this year and, use that time off to celebrate Juneteenth. Now I'm going to turn the time over to Sadie.
All right, everybody. I will be wrapping the workshop up with the summer solstice. So this happens every June, of course, and it's the mark of the start of the summer. So the summer solstice is when the North Hemisphere, the Earth's tilt toward the sun, is at its maximum, which creates the longest day of the year. So the sun appears at its highest elevation with a noontime position that changes very little for several days before and after the solstice. It's not a day like New Year's or perhaps I only thing I can think of is Chinese New Year when we move through time zones and we're celebrating at different times. The summer solstice happens it happens all at once, all across the northern hemisphere. So here in Utah, the summer solstice will actually happen on June 21st at 3:12 a.m. We will then have a sunrise at 5:56 a.m. and a sunset at 9:02 p.m. So that gives us 15 hours and 6 minutes of daylight. The day before and the day after, it's something like 15 hours and 5 minutes of sunlight, or 4 minutes. But June 21st this year will be the longest day of the year, but only by a couple of minutes. The summer solstice, it represents new beginnings, and it reminds us to look inward and find nourishment for needed growth and evolvement. And after the solstice, the days will begin to grow shorter until our winter solstice, which is exactly the opposite. That's when the northern hemisphere is at its maximum away from the sun. So the summer solstice is celebrated all over the world and has been celebrated all over the world for centuries. So I thought I would share some of my favorites with you. Today, in present day Sweden, they host the Midsummer Festival that takes place all across the Sweden country. So most Swedes, they flee the city and head to the countryside to gather with loved ones during this time. The day is just brimming with ancient symbolism. They walk barefoot in the morning dew for good health. They have flower ring crowns around their heads to celebrate beauty and fertility. Some Swedes even dance around the summer maypole, so similar to the May Day poles that we see in European countries. So if you want to join in the fun of this summer solstice tradition, stock up on pickled herring for a snack or strawberries topped with whipped cream for dessert. I'm thinking I'm going to make some sort of strawberry shortcake to celebrate the summer solstice. Now we move over to ancient Greece, and the summer solstice was the most egalitarian day of the year. So during the Greek festival of Chronia, social hierarchy was largely abandoned in favor of the level playing field for all classes. So that means slaves and lords celebrated side by side when the solstice happened, and certain legal and moral restrictions were actually lifted on this day. This is one of my bucket list items, and it's the pyramids of Chichen Itza in Mexico's peninsula. So in this area, they have these amazing pyramids that you can see in this photo up on the left-hand corner. And these pyramids create a visual display twice a year during the summer and the winter solstice. And what happens is when the light hits it, it actually makes it look like the pyramid is split into two, which would be really cool. Just stand right there, wait for the sun to be at its maximum, and then to see it be split into two. So thousands of spectators come from near and far to celebrate the summer solstice, to view this ethereal spectacle in which the pyramid appears to be cut in half. And they're said that these monuments were actually made based on the summer solstice, and that this was done on purpose. All right. And then the last one we have is Austria, and you can see it in the bottom right-hand corner. So high in the mountains that create the beautiful Austria, the tradition is to light bonfires in the mountains around the summer solstice dates. And this dates all the way back to the Middle Ages that they used to do this. So numerous local clubs and associations actually climb the mountains each year, and they build these fires and high above the valley floor. So the night of the summer solstice, it looks like there's just bonfires happening all throughout Austria. And they are to represent and illuminate the mountains to create this mystical atmosphere to celebrate the ancient civilizations of Austria. So I found these to be fun. And I would love to hear from you in the chat. Do you do anything to celebrate the summer solstice? I'm thinking of waking up at right before 3:12 a.m. this year just to say that I was awake during it, right? Or my husband and I were talking about just to get up at sunrise and stay up all throughout the longest part of the year, right? That 15 hours. Anybody have, I can't see the chat. Let's see here. Trudy says s'mores in the evening. Selena said midsummer every year. I go camping every midsummer. Yes. Very fun. There's so much to celebrate in June. And I think one of the neatest parts about June is it's all very diverse, the things that we're celebrating. Like we talked about, we have Pride Month, Juneteenth, it's Father's/Father's Day, Flag Day, and the summer solstice too. I think it's just a great time to celebrate being alive and celebrate those around us. But if you have any questions, throw them in the chat box. But other than that, that's all we have to share with June celebrations for you today. We apologize for the beginning of WebEx being kind of finicky, but at least we were able to get it going. Maureen says, celebrate my mom's birthday. Ooh, what a fun birthday to celebrate at the beginning of the summertime. We will have in the chat box the sign-in link too, if you guys didn't get that before you go. But if not, we hope you have a lovely Tuesday and find time to celebrate all the wonderful things happening this month.